Hello, everyone, and welcome to this new episode of Christine Means Business. And today we have a new interview of one of the people that I admire and that I have in my sphere, that I stalk lovingly on social media and that I had a connection with. And today it's the wonderful Becky Keen, who I met 2 years ago. Well, yes, in a couple of months, it would have been 2 years ago. And we both shifted and changed and shed some skins and have had a rebirth like a phoenix from the ashes, both of us. And it's just, I'm really excited to introduce her to you guys because I think she brings a lot to the table and in a way that might not be as expected. So let's first dive into the official bio. So officially, Becky Keen is a sales and business machine wrapped in woo for coaches and service providers who want to get consistent 5-figure months and more. Becky will help you monetize your brilliance with a profitable business you absolutely adore. And I can totally vouch for that because I see how she appears. I know what she can do. I know the results she gets for people. And so I'm really excited to talk about this because even though you know that I'm very much about the hardcore numbers as well and strategy, I do have a huge portion of woo that I do have all the time. I always have a kind of crystal grid somewhere and I do my saging and all my oracle cards, especially when I do feel I'm not the most faithful woo servant though. I do it mainly when I'm stuck, but I do know that it's like a faithful friend just waiting for me, right? But Becky is, if you're not watching the video, she's a little bit different because I find a lot of us, when we start with our business, we think that all the tech is more important and that all the strategy is more important and that woo are people who have purple hair and wearing Birkenstocks and eating loosely all day long. And I can promise you that Becky is not like that. And she's the funniest person I know. So I really want to introduce you guys to her and also really consider taking this seriously because I've seen major shifts in my business when I started the woo, which is also a lot of the time personal investigation. And you do have to do your strategy for sure, but there's so much to this. If you don't hone into your own essence, there's no way you will be able to sell it. And I think Becky is a great person to explain that bridge. So welcome so much to this episode today, Becky.
Yeah. Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
So let's start right away. When people ask you what you do, how do you reply?
My simplest answer is usually something like I help coaches and service providers make great money doing what they love. Or I'll say, I help you grow and scale your business. I try to keep it pretty simple when people ask me what I do. And then when we start to get into conversation, I think that's when it really starts to unravel and unpack because as you kind of said in the intro, like yes to strategy. And in fact, the mastermind I run, it's called the Spiritual Meets Strategy Mastermind because you can't, you can have strategy all day long, but if you haven't tapped in and you haven't connected, and if you're not using Source, which is available all the time, to your own highest good, your customer's highest good, it's like the strategy is going to be confusing. You're not going to really know what to do. So yeah, if people come to me and they're like, okay, I just want hardcore strategy and I just want to do this and I don't need to do any inner work. I don't want to pull oracle cards. I don't believe in that stuff. Then I'm like, I'm not for you. I'm 100% not for you. It doesn't mean we're going to stay in the airy fairy and that we're going to do card spreads to figure out what we're going to do with our lives. It just means we're going to use this source, this free, unlimited potential source, the universe, to co-create our businesses with. So I really like to work with women to help them tap in, to connect. A lot of my clients will tell me I help them get clear.
Yeah.
And so when you create from that place of clarity, when you create from that place of alignment, like everything just flows from there. And the strategy, the tech, all those questions that you got hung up on previously no longer are your barriers. It's like things can kind of flow from there. So
great. Yes,
Yeah,
I totally agree with this. It's like it's so true in so many words. And oh God, I already lost my train of thought because I had something that I wanted to say. Oh yes, because basically the method that I teach is impact with integrity. And a lot of times people ask me why integrity. And I was wondering if I should call it alignment or integrity, but I think both are quite close. But the problem with this is that if you don't even know who you are, if you don't know what your values are, if you don't do the work, and you can do as many branding questionnaires as you want to, and I have really good ones that will help you with that. But I truly, truly believe if you do not face yourself and are actually loving yourself and being happy with yourself, there is no way that you're going to have that aura for other people to be attracted to you either. And it's just as much woo as business sense speaking here in terms of that. Every person I know, especially, and it's funny, the more successful people become, the more conversations you have with successful business owners, the more you open up to the woo, the more they all tell you the same story. In the beginning, I was reluctant. I was seeing all these people with their crystals and their cards and all that kind of stuff, and I was just rolling my eyes. And the more experienced you see them getting, and the more you are in different levels of entrepreneurship, the more you see that they actually had to go through that ritual or that rite of passage in a way in order to really break that barrier. So when we talk about source and all that kind of stuff, for someone who's feeling there's something missing, like I have everything in place, how do you manage to explain, might not be the right word, but to demonstrate maybe to them what the power behind this is?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I often think when people ask me something around that, I often think about one of the women who was in my last program, and she came, what I would call like very headstrong, very like masculine energy. And we all have the feminine and the masculine within us, so it's not a bad thing. But it was like, go, 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 do, create, more. It's just driving, pushing energy. And she wasn't getting the results that she wanted. She always felt burnt out, even though she'd left corporate, was now running her own business. She was still feeling that sense of being burnt out. And on our very first kickoff weekend, and this is kind of the best way that I can explain like how I go there with people who are new to it, is really providing an experience. So I can give you a book, I can give you a checklist, I can tell you what I do, but what is easier or more experiential, so you actually can feel it and taste it, is, we'll do some kind of guided meditation or some kind of exercise around unpacking your own belief system. I use it's so funny, Christine, because even recently I did, this feedback form for my mastermind. And I thought, okay, the women are going to tell me that like the strategy calls were great or the copywriting was great. And the women were like, we loved your journal prompts. And I'm like, wait, what? Because like I can think of journal prompts like nothing. Like they come to me every morning, and it's my own inner inquiry process. So when I share people through that experience of like, okay, questioning what is true for you, it's almost like getting beyond the mind or getting past the mind, but dropping into your body and actually feeling the sensations inside of you. And it's even just taking a breath, and instead of staying up in your head, allowing that breath to travel down into your belly, into your gut, feeling it connect, all the way down through the base of your spine. And when men too, but when we just get a taste of that and we can actually feel ourselves, like I say, feel yourself on a soul level, when you connect with that, it's like, the game changes, and you don't want to go back because it becomes too uncomfortable to live purely from that head energy. And you get to then create from this source energy. So, I can talk about it, but I think it is a matter of practicing it. And the more we do it, the more we connect to ourselves to source, or however you want to look at it, the more available it's going to be. So it's like a muscle. It's like any muscle. You want to run a marathon, you have to run a lot. You want to tap into your intuition and co-create with spirit, you have to tap into yourself a lot. Like it's a muscle that has to be practiced.
And it's so interesting because whatever comes up for you, it might be completely different from what you did in the beginning, because in the beginning you did what you thought was expected of you. And it's, as you say, once you learn what you actually want though, and once you do it once, it seriously is addictive. Like you cannot go back. And here's also a little bit of a disclaimer for everyone. Once you start to live that way, once you start to unapologetically live according to what's right for you, not everyone will like it, because you will start to see through the bullshit of other people. You will start to see how they are kidding themselves, how they are bullshitting themselves. And it's painful to watch sometimes. And it is going to alienate you from people you might have known for a long time, because they see how you are shifting and how you're changing. The good news is that when you meet new people, they will get to know the real you, who you are, who you truly embody. And those connections, I find, are sometimes even stronger than anything you've had forever before.
Totally.
And other people, even though they don't get it, they will still respect it and will be fine with you. But I found it was a really, like those last 2 years, they have been huge in terms of, I wonder if my DNA has changed. Like literally, I wonder if my fingerprints have changed, because I seriously don't feel like the same person at all.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it was necessary. And especially as service providers, selling yourself as the vessel for health, personal development, wellness, whatever it is that we do, people need that, because they can smell it from a gazillion miles away when you are not in alignment, when you present something that you are not. And it's interesting. I just recently posted an image of my very first photo shoot when I studied baby sleep consulting. And it's just,
oh my gosh,
it was just what I thought people wanted to see.
Yeah.
And then looking at pictures I'm taking now, it's so different. It's just a completely different thing, right? So yeah, I guess, especially as service providers, it's scary in a way, but it's very liberating too.
Yeah. And I think there's this shift that happens too. So like, I would say to people, actually, you're never selling yourself. Like even service providers who are selling personal development or health and wellness, like people will say to me, I don't know how to sell because it's so connected to me. And I'm like, well, okay, the thing is, you're not selling yourself. You are not for sale. I'm not for sale. You're not for sale. None of us are for sale, right? We have a business, we have services, we have things that are for sale that can be purchased. And I think what happens is, especially in like the coaching, health and wellness, where there's not like a tangible, hey, here's your thing, like copywriting, branding, website, here's your website. Like this is your thing. It's done. Photography, with coaching, healing, health and wellness kind of professionals, we get this, it feels like they're wrapped together. So I'm wrapped with my coaching services or my mentoring services. But when I actually feel so connected to myself and my own inherent worth, I'm here. Like I'm Becky Keen. I'm showing up. I'm doing my thing. I've got this, I'm me. Then over here, right here, I have these services. You can buy this course. You can hire me as a coach. You can, whatever. You can book in this way. It's actually not it is connected to me, but it's not me. Yeah. I'm a God force. I'm the divine. I'm who I am. Right. So it's like, if we can just kind of pull that apart a little bit, I think it frees it up for people to be like, okay, I'm going to show up as who I am. And also I have a business and I have services. And then it also helps us price that business and that service, because it's not a reflection of who we are necessarily.
Oh, totally. Like, I think that's where the headspace needs to flow into. Like, you need to be able to provide for yourself. And the good thing is that when you do that, you don't take it personally. right?
Mm-hmm.
Because it is a business in the end, right? You need to be able to provide or want to provide and more, depending on your lifestyle and what you want and whatever your goals are, they're totally cool. But I think that will take you away from taking people who won't work with you personally, which I think so many people are afraid of. And the interesting thing is, the more you show up as yourself, the less you will get people not wanting to work with you, because they can see straight from the bat whether you are a good fit or not, whether they want to be learning from you or not, whether they want to be in your sphere or not, because you're so clear about it.
Totally. Yeah. And you will, when that happens, you'll begin to like repel some people. Some people will be triggered, turned off, turned away by you, by what you do. But then it's like you become this magnet for the right people, for your ideal clients, for the people that you absolutely would love to work with. Like, you just become a magnet. And my gosh, is there anything better than just being a magnet for clients and, attracting money into your business? That's kind of the dream, right?
Agreed. And that's also where everything regarding content is so easy, because people ask me all the time, how do you create content? It's like, yes, you can have a strategy, which you should have. But in the end, just tapping into yourself, it's really easy to share that knowledge with everyone. You know what you're doing, and you don't need to overthink it. You don't need scripts. You just teach and just share the way that you feel. It's easy. There's no stress behind it. And you will be consistent, which is key in order to get clients over and over again, because it's easy. There's no preparation even. You just do it because that's who you are. That's what you know, and it's your purpose that you want to do. So, and I find that is, for a lot of people in the coaching industry, sometimes quite daunting, because a lot of the time you still have imposter syndrome. Is what I'm saying actually valid? And I think that's most of the time just overthinking it. It's like, okay, is everything that I say 100% accurate? Obviously, you shouldn't tell lies, but it doesn't really matter if there's, if you say, I'm actually not 100% sure about this, but it's fine. It's definitely more than your future client knows. So I think that is also something, that ease of creating and then hence attracting, that won't be there before you don't do that piece of work.
Yeah, it's really interesting that you bring that up, because I was on hosted a joint webinar recently with, I call her a content queen. Like, she helps people create strategy with their content, and we're partnering on this project. And I said right in this webinar, I'm like, I don't have a content strategy. I don't struggle over what to say or what to write. Like, I write things from my heart. I think about what my customer might need from me that I can share. I talk about things that, if I had to defend it, I could. Yes. Like, is it true? Is it true for me? Did it work for me? Does it work for my clients? Perfect. I'm going to share about that. If someone wants to attack me on that, can I always say, can I stand in the truth of who I am? In the sense that, can I back my statements? Can I back my content? So I think it's really interesting that when we do connect and when we're kind of speaking from that place, the content flows. And that's what I was saying to this other woman yesterday. Meanwhile, there are ways to have, strategy and all this kind of stuff, but some, depending on how you are and how you operate, some of us just don't operate that way.
Yeah, totally. And I think for the longest time, I'm not, no, it's not quite true. I'm not naturally strategic, I think. Or it's not my forte. My forte is organic. I'm partly Mintaken, which means that I go more in circles and I jump from project to project, which is why I have help, which is basically why I have other people and why I have SOPs. So standard operation procedures that other people do for me, but I can then jump around and do my thing. And we kind of gather all my content in one place, and then they take it and produce it strategically, or they convert it strategically into social media pieces or blog posts and what have you. But for me, I'm not under the pressure of having to think too strategically. I know what the strategy is. They implement it for me, but all I have to do is just have my sparks and just create, basically.
Do you know what your human design is?
I'm a generator, I think. The reason why I'm saying I think is because I was adopted. So I don't know the time of day. And I use a pendulum. And so the closest I could get to the time that I think, and it also inherently connected with me, because I was always convinced my daughter was born at that time. Actually, she wasn't. See, the super mom that I am. I don't even remember that part. But yes. So according to that, and I think I tried a couple of combinations if I was wrong, but I think really close to that, it's always the same. It's always generator. So yeah.
Okay. Because I know when I found out my type, which is manifesting generator, it made so much sense to me. And I was like, oh, so I am supposed to create from inspiration. I also might skip over some details. I might forget. Yes. I might be so excited to host a program and I get it out there and then people are like, but what time is it? Or
I know. And I'm like,
these are the calls. And I'm like, oh, right.
Wait a minute. Yes.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. Hence why having a team for a manifesting generator is very, very important.
You do. I mean, that's what my Tamara is, my right brain of my business. She knows me so well, but she gets me all organized and logistics and all of that stuff she does. And that's her zone of genius, right? But it's true that I also know that as soon as I do something that I don't like, I'm exhausted. And I felt that for quite some time. For the last year, I guess, with Sleep Like a Boss. And it's always been that way, that I got fired up when I produced the business, when I ran the business, and client acquisition. Even working with the clients themselves was always fun, but it was not what lit me up. So now it got a little bit draining. But now when I got into Christine Means Business again, that's what my zone of genius has always been. And now I have these days again where I just create and burst out from energy that I hadn't had for so long, that I had at the beginning of my business, but not necessarily because I wanted to help people with sleep, but because I wanted to build a business, So
right.
It all makes sense. And it's so true that you need to still do things, right, that you don't like to do, but outsourcing as much as you can is just doing yourself such a favor. And as a generator, I also really learned to go with the reactive kind of part, to really not initiate. Like whenever I initiate too much, it doesn't work. I'm really a reactionary type. And so I really learned to stay calm a lot of the time, analyze first and have it just soak up and then see what happens or what doesn't happen, like just sometimes it's just as well that I didn't react, so it's interesting. And I really do suggest that everyone figures out their human design and has a session with someone who can help you interpret it. I think it is fascinating.
It really is. It's like a whole, I thought I was pretty tapped in, and then I found out my human design and I was like, oh, my soul just felt free. I'm like, wait, what? I crush when you try to pressure me? No wonder. Like, just explains so much.
Yes, I agree. And it's weird, but these things really do help you a lot. So even if people are listening and like, oh my God, there's no way, and do it, it is really going to help you. Obviously you need to be a little bit open-minded, but I also find in teams, it can really, really help. I wish more companies would do this, because I see it over and over in corporate, where you have all kinds of different designs working together that it can never work. And it doesn't, because communicatively, it's just so different, so yeah. And it would be interesting. Something I'd like to do is actually to know what all my clients are from human design, and to see if I have a pattern at the end, that would be quite cool.
Totally. Yes. Yeah. I've been using the Enneagram in my mastermind. We all find out what our Enneagram type is, which is similar but different. And it's just been interesting, like, because then I see how certain people operate. So like, when I ask people to go do a planning exercise, okay, great. So you're all inspired. You have this beautiful idea. You're going to go put this out into the world. You're going to launch it. First thing I do is bring out a calendar so that I can plan some stuff out. So visually I can see my dates in front of me to make sure I have time and all that stuff. But a whole set of my mastermind crew shut down, and they were like, they were paralyzed.
Yeah.
They couldn't do it. And then the other women were like racing and got the Post-its and the whole thing mapped out. I'm like, oh, so it was like some of the Enneagram, all the Enneagram girls were together in a certain number. And then the other ones were also together. And I'm like, okay, this is really interesting, you know? So sometimes we have to bring different tools. So now I call it a visual calendar. It's like a big white piece of paper with a bunch of markers, and you draw circles and quadrants. And it's just, that works for different brains.
Yeah. And when was it through you? I don't remember. I connected with you for some reason, but when we were drawing our goals, so Becky and I, we were in it wasn't really mastermind, it was a group program together. And one of the things that we did is that for the goals, we had different shapes or symbols, and whenever you got a client for that certain amount, you would draw that in. So you had this beautiful picture and you would just draw those in, and it would be hearts or stars depending on what package it was. And I really liked that, and I still do it. Like whenever I know exactly what my goal is supposed to do, I still do it. And I know you still do that, right?
I've got one right here.
Oh, there we go.
Yep. Yeah. And that's actually one of the things that we do inside my programs is like feeling the energy. So less thinking about it. Yeah, of course, the IC exercises, all that good stuff. But if you can tap into the energy of that which you want to attract, that which you want to call in, the energy of, you know, whether it's the clients or the money you want to make, or even just the feeling, like what is the essence that you want to bring? And I'll talk to a lot of my ladies about this during a launch period, because they get so stuck on, no one's signing up, or only 2 people signed up, or they get in this very scarcity mindset. And I'm like, okay, tap in to what it is that you're creating, to what you want to put out into the world. Imagine those clients coming into you. Imagine that income landing in your bank account. How does it make you feel? And then go do something that makes you feel that way. Like, instead of focusing on the sale, instead of focusing on when is someone going to click and buy this thing, focus on feeling, focus on the essence. And that's been such a big shift, a big shift.
Because you only have success that way, and you attract more of that. It's fantastic. And here's the cool thing. It's because I practice this stuff, but I know that I'm not the perfect, what you would call it, an amplifier, or what do you call it? Like voice for it? I'm like, I can't find the word. But for example, if I talk to someone who does this as well, I can have a conversation, but it's hard for me if I now have a new client to teach them how to do this, you know, which is where that's your zone of genius in a way. And that's why I love these interviews, because to me, there's no competition. We all have our different zones of geniuses. So people who listen to this, some will be, no, that's not that much for me, you know, which you said in the beginning. And for others, this is like exactly that was the piece that I was missing. So for those of you who do feel that way, like, I understand what it is, I practice it, but it will be much harder for me to guide you towards that state. Whereas Becky, you just have this connection and it just goes. I wonder if your human design do you have this vocal thing as well, that it goes through your communicative kind of organ too?
Well, what she told me was that I am basically here to amplify the foundational energy. So like money, safety, being seen, being heard. And so if that's through your voice, through your writing, through whatever it is, but she basically said like and she said, for me, I actually have to be out there. I have to be like out there, visible, online. That's, my soul needs that. My soul like finds that helpful, whereas other people are different. But no matter what, it's like, I just feel like I can help you connect and tap into your own source, however that is, you know?
I agree. And that's something that I just wouldn't say that I can do. Like, I'm into it. I like soak in it. I love practicing it. I love discussing it, but there's no way that I even know how to start to teach that, or it's not my zone of genius. It's just not what lights me up either. So, but I do, that's the frustrating part sometimes, because I know how important it is and I do want people to do it, but it's just not something that I can do. Like, right. So, so this is beautiful, because it's this beautiful synergy where you can see now when people are listening, you know, this is the missing piece, then please reach out to Becky. Like, I really, really, really believe that you have to do this. And I'm not the perfect person to teach you that, you know, come back to me for more the strategic part. I'm great at that. And I understand what you're doing. And I know I can see your bullshit and I can call you out on your bullshit with love, of course, but to really help you to dive into that alignment, integrity, into that source, into that feeling of what makes you so powerful as a man or a woman, it doesn't matter. That's not my zone of genius, to be frank. And that's cool too. You know, that's
totally
what that's what these interviews are for, because I can't do it all.
Thank goodness we don't have to. And it's, you know, for people listening, it's actually really freeing when you realize that you are not there to teach all of the things and you are not there to be all the people to all the people. Then you get to just focus on what you're really good at, and people will come, they'll come inside. You know, I've had people who, they work with me, they connect, they do all the things, they go on, they have their first 6-figure year. And then guess what? They need to go find another coach. They need to find someone who builds funnels, who does copywriting, who helps them get to 7 figures. Like, we grow, we evolve, and we change. But when you get to focusing on what it is that you love, then all of a sudden too, like the clients who are in front of you, you're just, everything's just amplified and so exciting, because you're like, okay, I don't have to do all this stuff. Yay.
It's so true. And the thing is, there's no correct or wrong order in these things either. Like, it's not to say that you need to start with personal development either, because then you'll be overwhelmed with the tech. There's no way to say that you have to do the tech first and then do this. It's literally a calling of your soul when you know there's a missing piece. And that's whenever you have to investigate this, right? And I really do believe that it's individual for everyone, but I very often think it's because we don't talk about it enough. Like, on business podcasts, I don't think we talk about it enough, to be honest. I think also a lot of, I don't know if this is a soapbox moment, and it's not, I don't want to generalize completely, but I do find that a lot of traditional podcasts can be very male, bro marketing focused, where this is just not something that's talked about. And I do see a lot less men in this vibe than women, which is not to say that there are no men in this vibe at all. It's not true. I just, for some reason, find that when women step into this, there's no comparison to a guy. I'm sorry. I just think we are hugely superior to this. So pretty polarizing here, but I just seen it so many times. And I think there's a force that is just, there's no way anyone can catch up with that. There's just no way.
Well, you just think about the goddess energy or the phoenix energy, or, you know, that women, like, we can create human life. Like, we are super duper powerful, but we've been raised, we live in a patriarchal, most of us, society. And so we've been conditioned to believe that there's this very one way to do things, and you need to show up this way, you need to build this funnel, you need to do that, you need to do this. And it's like, man, if you could just tap in and trust yourself, you could create how you want to create in a way that feels aligned, like it's where things flow to you as opposed to like the pushing to get, right? It's like attracting energy versus pushing energy, super different.
And it's beautiful. It's powerful. Like, people say it's orgasmic. That's exactly what it is, people. Like, it's amazing. So I'm a huge fan. So Becky, I'm like tingly all over, because I haven't been in my flow or in my vibe for quite a while, because I've had so much to do and I just sometimes I don't want to. So today I am. But what if other people are like, okay, this totally resonates to me. I know that you have a quiz, which you guys can find at beckykeen.com/quiz. So tell us a little bit what awaits them there and how they can find you, connect with you, and potentially work with you.
Yeah, and so there is the quiz on my website. It's in a few places. So pretty much if you go to my website, you'll find it. And you can also go to that, was it /
Yeah.
or // but there's also a meditation on my website. I don't know how long it's going to be up there for, but it's, I think I call it a money meditation, but it could also be for clients. And I kind of walk you through and guide you through how to tap in, how to connect to the energy. And I say, call it in, call the clients in. I believe there's also a workbook that goes both with the quiz plus with the money meditation. So that might be a good fit too. If people are like, I don't even know what she's talking about. The quiz will kind of get you through what your attractor factor is. So how you're going to attract people into your orbit. And then the meditation and that workbook will give you more of an experience of what that feels like. And right now, I have a mastermind. So I run a mastermind once a year. I have a course, which is available. That's more for people who wanting to understand what their offers are, what their packages, like what to sell. And then I also walk you through inside of that course. So we go through offers, pricing. I do some of the energetic work as well. And then we get into sales. So a lot of the women I work with are really, how do I sell without feeling icky, without feeling salesy? So I teach people about that as well. So there's a course which is available for purchase. And then my one-to-one is more for people who just need some like specific get in there advice, maybe through a VIP day together or through a 6-week package. I don't really do any more longer term coaching.
Yeah.
But if the right person comes along, I do. So I just go with how things feel.
I know, yeah. I'm with you there.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Well, I'm excited. And so please, everyone, don't hesitate to reach out to Becky. It's a key piece of the puzzle for sure. You will feel the calling when it's there for you. Don't ignore it. It's costing you money, literally. So yeah. I'm super grateful for you sharing this, and the vibe is just contagious. Like, I just find it really contagious. So also check out her Instagram, because I love Becky.
Yeah. I was going to say, come to my Instagram. It's Beck_Keen, Keen. I love hanging out on Instagram. And yeah, it's like,
it's also contagious. I'm totally stalking Becky on a regular basis. It's fun.
Love it.
All right, you guys. Well, thank you so much for tuning in to today's episode. And the next one will be a solo one, and then we'll have another interview. I have no idea who with. It's somewhere on my schedule. I do believe it's Victoria Klein who we're going to talk about. So, yeah, thank you. And reach out if you have any questions, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye, everyone.
Bye.